Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news. I'm really not happy. I'm bloody fuming. I'm not happy about this at all. So a player that Manchester United had been scouting for 2 years, that we were looking at before Ineos even bought Manchester United, I'm talking about Todibo. We are banned from signing him because Sir Jim Ratcliffe owns Nice. So a player that is reasonably priced, that a lot of clubs in the Premier League are looking at, that we actually have a pathway to signing, we are banned from signing him. This has come out exclusively. Well, look, to be fair, some of you mentioned it before, but Fabrizio Romano has put it out there today that Manchester United, the deal is now off because of, basically what I've just said there. We are banned from doing this deal because of the ownership model that we now have, whereby Nice is owned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So, on the one hand, you've got Manchester City, who are signing Savio, who's been at Girona this season, who is part of the City group. Both of them will be in the Champions League next year, but he can sign for them. That's absolutely fine. And there is a story to that. But Man United, we can't sign Todibo, who we were looking at, and we're looking at last summer before Ineos even bought us. Absolute bloody joke. And yet again, the rules get circumvented by others, because the great thing about Savio is he was on loan at Girona last year, so therefore Man City can buy him. But listen to this, he was on loan from a club that Man City owned as well. The French club, I can't pronounce the name, Troyes or something like that. But obviously they're not in the Champions League, so it's a technicality again. A player that gets Champions League football with Girona, who is on loan from another City club, that can then go to City because the club he's on loan from isn't in the Champions League. What an absolute joke. It needs bloody calling out. That there is why people are getting fed up of your stupid rules, UEFA, because they're easy to circumvent from somebody that's actually planned it. My point is, Man City have planned this. They've put Savio from Troyes to Girona, knowing that they can't take him from Girona, but they can take him from Troyes because they won't be in the Champions League. They've actually planned it out to beat your rules. We wanted Todibo before we even knew Sir Jim Ratcliffe was going to buy us. It's a bloody joke. So a centre-back that's reasonably priced, that would be a good replacement for Varane, is now off the table for Manchester United. And he'll probably go to Aston Villa now for 35 fucking million quid. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely bloody ridiculous. And look, some people might say, well, this is the downside of Ineos buying Manchester United. I don't think it's got anything to do with that. It's just a pure coincidence. We nearly bought Todibo last summer. Sir Jim Ratcliffe was nothing to do with Manchester United. And the fact that Man City are doing that with Savio is a bloody joke. And it needs calling out. And I hope other people do see it for what it is. Because basically what this comes down to is that last season UEFA said that Aston Villa and Vitória Sport from Portugal, Brighton and Hove Albion and St. Galles from Belgium, and AC Milan and Toulouse couldn't do any business between each other. They can't trade between each other directly or indirectly, and they can't do any loan deals or anything like that for the season before they're in the same competition. So it was, that is the rule. That is the rule. It's pure and simple. That's what Fabrizio Romano is talking about. And obviously, Nice and Man United are both going to be in the Europa League. But it's a stupid bloody rule. It's a stupid rule because it's easy to circumvent if you actually plan to do it. And we haven't planned to do it. Sean Turner says the new rule comes into play in July. Could we not agree the deal in principle now so it's then already in writing before the new rule comes in? Other teams find loopholes. Why haven't we, says Sean. Fergie says City getting away with it again. What else is new, Mark? Ineos need to move quickly to find a solution at centre-back. Can't run it back with Magaluf. And is the Branthwaite deal more important now, says Owen. But we need a Varane replacement. Branthwaite's not a Varane replacement, in my opinion. I think we need two centre-backs. Salzburg sold Sesko, Upamecano and Keita to Leipzig, and United can't sign Todibo from Nice. I don't believe it, says Christopher. The annoying thing is, now that we can't do this deal, he will go to somebody like Spurs or Leverkusen or Aston Villa for less than 40 million quid and probably end up being a good player, and we don't get him because of some technicality bullshit when we have factually been scouting him for 18 months. Ineos only bloody got hold of us at 25% as well. They don't own Manchester United. They only own 25% of it, and they only got it in February. It's a piss take. We've been looking at him for a year before Ineos even got 25%, and now we're being basically punished for something that's just a stupid technicality. It's so bloody frustrating because, well, look, you know, I'm not messing around. This is the bloody hotometer. Todibo was up there as an 8 because it's just, everybody's been talking about it for ages. It's so inevitable that United can do that deal. Well, take him off the list. Well, he'll be off the list from now on. And look, it's not speculative at all. The update came in from Fabrizio Romano a few hours ago. This is what he had to say about it. Manchester United Todibo deal is currently off and highly unlikely due to UEFA rules. Talks were advanced with all parties, but Nice and Man United, with same ownership, playing same European competition next season, means no green light. So, bloody great. Advanced talks with all parties happy, and we can't do it because of bloody UEFA. And yet you've got Man City loaning a player to another club who qualifies for the Champions League, but then they can sign that player because they own all three and the club he's on loan from isn't in the bloody Champions League. Absolute disgrace. Absolute bollocks. I hope there's a way around this because I think it's shit. I think it's really shit that we're missing out on a player that we really want because of a technicality that other clubs are finding a way around because they figured it out. They've actually figured out a way around it, you know. Should have done the deal in January and loaned him back. Lack of foresight by all involved, says Rory. Well, Ineos didn't have the club in January, did they? Can we not just buy him and not play him in the Europa League, says Aaron. I actually don't know about that, Aaron. I mean, it might be a way around it. I don't know whether we can do that. I don't know whether we can't do a loan. A loan is not allowed either. You can't loan between two clubs. You can't sell between two clubs. But yeah, it's City are playing chess and United don't know the rules, says Marvin AM. We're also going to talk about Mason Greenwood. There's a story coming out about him from Lazio as well. Just do a Man City, lawyer up and pressure them, says Matt. And hi Mark, any chance of getting De Ligt? Well, there's more chance now, DV, I suppose. And can we not buy him and just play him in Europe? Do you know why we can't sign him and have him exempt from competing in Europa, says Ryan? I don't know whether anybody has looked at that. I don't know whether anybody's actually looked into the technicalities of that. I don't care whether he plays in the Europa League or not. I'd want him for the Premier League. But yeah, I think that's probably not the case. We've got a bit of an update coming in on Olise as well. But yes, I'm sure Fabrizio gave a reason as to why Man City have got around what they've done as well. I'm just having a quick look here. I'm sure he did say something about it. Alphonso Davies. Okay. That's Benfica. God, he tweets a lot, Fabrizio, doesn't he? Yeah. Fabrizio just says it's because it's from Troyes and not from Girona. Yeah, it's just an absolute piss take, isn't it? It really is frustrating. Really is frustrating. But what can you do? Why is it always Manchester United that end up in this position? I mean, look, the ruling from UEFA was specific to those clubs of last year, and obviously Man United and Nice haven't been mentioned, but I'm sure we've been given the tip-off that was going to come in. Look, some of you won't be that bothered. You know, I take it on board. Some of you won't be that bothered, but he's featured so highly on our list for such a long period of time that it is a blow to Manchester United. You know, we talk about Olise. If he signs for Chelsea, that's a blow to Ineos because that's a player that Ineos want. And if Todibo can't be bought, that's another blow to Ineos and Ten Hag because it's a player that we want. And we can all say, well, you know, it doesn't really matter. We didn't get him. But it does matter because it is a player that we want. So if you're tuning in a bit late, Manchester United have been banned from signing Todibo because Nice are owned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and obviously 25% of Man United is owned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well. And they're basically saying that no inter-club deals can be done the season before they're both in the same competition. So Nice have qualified for the Europa League. We've qualified for the Europa League, so we cannot sign Todibo. And obviously Thuram, if you thought we were going to go for him from Nice, we won't be doing that either. But I wouldn't really care about it if it wasn't a player that was so high on our list. And, you know, it probably strengthens the Everton situation now because they know that we haven't got alternatives. And look, you know, Khalid says go for Calafiori from Bologna. It's not about that, mate. We haven't got an endless pot of money. And Todibo is available for a very reasonable price, probably under 35 million quid. That's a reasonable price. Someone else is going to get that bargain because we've had our hands tied by a rule that other clubs know how to circumvent, like Man City. It's just very, very disappointing. How do you know we can't sign him, and have we been exempt from competing in Europa? No, we haven't. And if you were here at the start of the show, you'd already know. I'm not here to do repeats. That's UK Gold. Sign De Ligt for 35 million. He's just 24 like Todibo. Yeah, Abdul, let's sign De Ligt for 35 million when his price is 45 and he's on 250k a week. I mean, if you're going to come with an alternative, don't come from Disney World. Like, come with a reality. De Ligt is on 250 grand a week and Bayern Munich want 42 million quid. We can't just go and buy him for 35 million pounds. Also, Todibo's wages would be cheaper. Dylan says, frustrating news seems to always be United in these situations. Who would now be your ideal right-footed centre-back? Well, De Ligt is very different to Todibo. The mobility you get from Todibo, you don't get from De Ligt. They're very different players. We were talking about this morning about Xerxes and Rasmus. They're very different players, and that's fine as a number 9. But if you want to play a high line with mobility, then I don't think De Ligt and Martinez is going to work. I'm sorry. I think Martinez and Todibo has pace, but I don't think that De Ligt is a natural replacement for the Todibo deal. I think we're going to have to look elsewhere. I try to think who's on. I mean, Guehi would be nice, double the price. Why is this only coming out now? We've known we're in the Europa League for 3+ weeks. Well, to be fair, Calming Oysters, a lot of you have mentioned it in the chat for a while. We just never heard it from... I remember somebody mentioning it last week, and I said, I don't think it's true, because if it was true, I think David Ornstein or Fabrizio would have said so by now, and then Fabrizio comes out and says it. Can we sign him in January then, if either of us or Nice are not playing in Europa anymore? We can do Mojo, but we can't keep putting stuff off, surely. Do we have to overpay for Euro now, says Atura? I mean, again... Disney World. I've heard people say, oh, good, we can go for Euro now. Yeah, like that deal was easy to do. He wants to play for Real Madrid and he'll cost a lot more money. Just do a Man City. Lawyer up, we've done that one. Look, I understand people want to be glass half full and go, let's go for De Ligt. De Ligt is nothing like Todibo. He's not quick. And Euro is going to Real Madrid. So we've got to go and find another deal now. And the biggest thing is as well, we're in control of the Todibo deal, because of the connection with Ineos and Nice. But actually, it's bit us in the arse. I don't blame Ineos. I mean, God, I'm not going to say Ineos don't buy 25% of Man United because we're going to miss out on Todibo. That is why it's happened. But I don't blame Ineos. I blame UEFA. I think the rule's a bloody joke. I think it's an absolute joke. Like I said, you know, we were looking at Todibo legitimately before Ineos bought us. So it's not like the reason that deal's in place is to stop, you know, backhanders and favours and we'll help you out and you can groom your players here. We wanted Todibo before we were bought by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and he only owns 25% anyway. More sinister is how Man City get around it, because they've got a player on loan from a French club that they own to a Spanish club that they own, and he's had a great season for the Spanish club and they're buying him. The Spanish club has qualified for the Champions League, but because the French club they own isn't in the Champions League, they can take him, even though he's played for a club that's qualified for the Champions League. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I blame UEFA. I think it's a stupid rule that has got loopholes in it that are, you know, inconveniencing and hindering us, but benefiting others who've planned their way through it. Jim Jones says, could this be a frustrating summer for United? Don't get our first choices, then sign players in desperation at the end of the window. No, I think Manchester United can still have a good summer, but it's frustrating. Of course, it's a blow when you miss out on one of your major targets, and we were totally in control of that. Who is to say that Ineos upped the price on Todibo now, says Ray. He wants to go this summer, though, mate. He's waited for this summer to do that deal. I mean, I don't know how they keep on him. Get Danzo. He should be considered. His value was skyrocket after the Euros. Danzo's played well for Austria. Was it Austria he played for? I think he does play for Austria. But I think he's older than you think, Danzo. I think he's like 27. So I'm not buying somebody based on the bloody Euros. I think that's a big mistake. Abdul says you're high if you think Delo is slow. I didn't say. Sorry, you're high if you think Delit is slow. You're high if you think he's quick, mate. I didn't say he was slow. He's slower than Todibo. He's not. Delit's asset is not pace. If you think it is, I don't know what you've been watching, mate. Delit's never been known for out-and-out pace. Danzo's 25, sorry. I must be mixing him up with someone else. Could they not just terminate his contract, or can he be sold to another Ineos club, then sold to us, says Davine. Yes, now we can go for Van Dijk. Let's go get him, says Tina. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Okay, look, let's move on. There is other stories to talk about, but effectively at the moment, Manchester United cannot buy Todibo because of UEFA. Absolute bloody joke. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know what more to say on that. Anyway, we have got another update coming out for you, going the other way. We've got a news story coming in from Sami Mukbal, who is a journalist for the Daily Mail. And he is saying that Manchester United have received a positive boost in relation to Mason Greenwood. Lazio have started talks with Manchester United over a 30 million deal for Mason Greenwood. Talks are now developing positively over initial fees, but it could rise with performance-related add-ons. Other clubs involved in that deal are still believed to be clubs from Spain and Italy. But that's a major development for Manchester United because obviously Mason Greenwood, we were talking about it this morning. And look, I've got no problem with anybody that wants Mason Greenwood to stay at the football club. That's an opinion, whether we like it or not. All I was saying this morning is that don't labour under some false hope that Man United are going to change their mind and keep him. He's going to go. He wants to go. He's going to go. Man United don't want him back. That's the cold, harsh truth. So the best thing we can do is get the best possible deal. Now, I'm encouraged by the fact that you've got a lot of clubs around a certain level that are interested in this player, whether it's Atletico Madrid, Valencia, Lazio, Napoli. Juventus, I think, are out the race now. Barcelona are out the race. So there's a lot of clubs, and the more clubs are involved, the better deal we can do. Now, if we can do a deal for about 30 million quid with some major add-ons there, then that's going to be beneficial to Manchester United. And I'd also want a sell-on percentage for when he moves on from his next club, if he does really well, and potentially even a buyback clause. So I think that, you know, whether he wants Spain or not, Dylan, we've got to be a bit careful about that, because I think the players' needs and requirements will, of course, be crucial. But the fact that Lazio are looking at him, it's Rome. Rome might be a very appealing place for Mason Greenwood to go and live. So obviously Gascoigne played there years and years ago. So this can only be good news for Manchester United. The more interest you get in a player that you're looking to sell, the better. And obviously I think we're going to be in a position comfortably where we can, you know, find a move that suits all parties, and hopefully we can wrap that one up quite quickly. Mark, Ineos just need to play the game now. Sell Todibo for Everton for 10 million. They give us Branthwaite for 40, and we then buy Todibo next year for 10, says Dean. Chris Roy says UEFA allow multi-club ownership. I don't see what relevancy the clubs playing in the same European competition makes, says Chris. I also think UEFA should get off their arse and employ people that actually analyse everything instead of having a blanket rule, because Manchester United buying Todibo is a very unique situation. For one, Sir Jim Radcliffe only owns 25% of Manchester United. For two, he only got hold of the club in February. It should be based on the ownership at the start of the season. At the start of the season, we weren't owned by Ineos, and we qualified for Europe through only being owned by Ineos for a third of the season. So, and also, everybody bloody knows we've been scouting Todibo for over 2 years. So, it's to be prevented from doing that deal because Ineos bought us in February for 25% is bloody ridiculous. I think it's bloody stupid. Snazzy Studio says, we've been heavily linked to Jonathan David today. I think it's a very possible deal and for an amazing goal scorer and overall player, says Snazzy. I saw that story myself. Remind me where it came from. I've got a couple of other stories to bring you, and I'm obviously live for the Scotland game in a few minutes' time on That's Football Scooby-Doo. Can the Scots do it? I hope they can, although Switzerland are my sweepstake team. Only good part about this window is that we are in it from June, which gives us time to solve for such bottlenecks as Davin. Yeah, I think with regards to Jonathan David, I really forget where it is that we've been linked to him, but it was a reasonable source. I wonder if I can find it for you here. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. There's a bit of an update coming in on Olise, but the source is not that great. It's that at Santi JFM, who works for Mercato and Foot Mercato, etc., who has been wrong about so many things around Man United. It's hard to say whether he's right or not. Being a French outlet, though, and a French player, I will update you on that very, very shortly. But there was an update on Jonathan David earlier on. I'm just trying to find it now. Athletic are saying that Lazio, Juventus and Napoli are all interested in signing Mason Greenwood. So that's just verification of that story we were talking about a moment ago. United do want 40 million for Mason Greenwood, but Lazio and Juventus believe they could strike a deal for around 34 million pounds with add-ons. I don't mind that. 35 million pounds with add-ons. I can deal with that, certainly. I'd still keep an eye on Ahmad, by the way. Some people are saying, what do you think about Ahmad's story? I still think, well, look, we've heard that Ahmad's a big part of Man United's future. But on the other hand, I still think that he will want his own, just because Man United see him as part of their future doesn't mean that he sees his future at Manchester United. He probably will want guarantees on game time, etc. It's an important season for him. This is where it came in from. Peter Hall, who is a freelance journalist for Reuters, Sky Sports, The Eye Paper and Independent Football, has said that Manchester United in the last hour, Manchester United have made contact with Jonathan David's representatives. He could be available for around £25 million. Remember that Jonathan David, Lille Canadian striker, still under 25 himself, a player that United have certainly scouted, 1 year left on his contract. So £25 million could be possible. Can Ineos release Todibo from contract and sign for free, says Akash? Look, I think there might be a way around it. I think all Fabrizio is doing here is reporting that what he's probably been told by United is that we can't do the Todibo deal because of the rules. Now, United, for me, should be looking to do something about that rule because it's a good player, it's a very good price that's high on our list. But are they accepting defeat? What about Sesko, who went from RB Club to RB Club, says Zoned. Take the Todibo issues to CAS. More often than not, they rule in favour of the clubs and not the league, says Manjula. Peter Hall broke the story about Jonathan David, says Abdul. Thank you very much, Abdul. And Girona can take youngsters from City and use them to qualify for the Champions League, and that's okay with UEFA, but we can't get a centre-back during an injury crisis. A joke, says Debo. I think we will have to solidify ourselves in top four before this impartiality stops against United, says Kandra. And all this transfer blitz talk supposedly by Ineos, and yet we still haven't agreed any transfers of yet, and United exposing who they want to rivals, says Lee Payne. And Dean had obviously said about playing the game. Yeah, so let me talk to you about the story that's come in relation to Michael Olise. I mean, as I said, this source has been wrong quite a lot about Manchester United, but what they're saying is at Santi_J_FM, French source, has said that Manchester United are not ready to trigger Michael Olise's release clause. United are exploring different possibilities to make the deal happen. Chelsea are ready to trigger the clause. They are current front runners and pushing hard. Key days ahead. Look, I feel like this bloody list is jinxed at the moment. I really, really do. Because it's gone very quiet on Edison. It's gone very quiet on Frimpong. Xerxes obviously is ongoing talks. Olise was very high and is dropping. Todibo was very high and is dropping. I always said if we get 3 players off that list, I'd be very, very happy. But I still would like 4 or 5, if I'm being honest. But with regards to Olise, Chelsea, as I said last week, Chelsea don't normally mess up these deals when they publicly express an interest in a player and they go hard after them. I would be wrong and lying if I said that I don't think Chelsea are favourites. I think Chelsea will be favourites to get this deal done. But we're also under a new ownership model. And I also know for a fact that Ineos really do like Michael Olise. And I also think that Michael Olise is a player that is very, 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 very suitable for what Man United need. A creative winger, a ridiculously creative winger. I mean, look at the goals he creates in a Crystal Palace side, what he can do in a team that's in the top 6. Very, very creative player who is you know, very ready to take up the next step. And he's also Premier League proven. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be very disappointed if we miss out on Todibo and Olise because I know how high Ineos regard them specifically, and also Ten Hag. So it is a blow on both counts. Robert says United could provide financial support or incentives to a third club to purchase Todibo with an agreement to sell him to us after a season, says Robert. Can Ineos release Todibo from contract and sign for free, says Akash. I'm pretty sure UEFA will have some sort of rule there in place that we can't do that. What about Sesko? We've done that one from Zoned as well. Mark, we have made a 25 million bid for Lopez from Barcelona, coming from the Daily Mail. Any thoughts? Is when Harry met Barry. It's a story that I have seen for about 2 days now. I don't think it's a breaking story, and I don't believe any story linking us to Barcelona players. I think I've learnt my lesson on that over many years. You know, we were going to bid for Arahu, we were going to bid for Rafinha, we were going to get De Jong. I mean, if there's one club in Europe that will do, remember the 5, it's total, but remember the 5 things about a story, a transfer story. 1, total bollocks. 2, totally true. 3, the club is using us to generate interest in a player. 4, the agent is using us to generate interest in a player. 5, the agent is using us to get a new contract where they are. And I think I think any player we get linked to for Barcelona is the club using Manchester United to generate interest in their players. I don't think we've bid for any Barcelona player, and I don't think we will bid for any Barcelona player. They need to pull their levers, and what better club to use than Man United? Wasn't there an issue with Nice and United playing in the same competition, but they got around? So I imagine a similar thing can be done right, I hope, says It's the Duck. I hope so. I hope so. Savage says UEFA rules only seem to work for Manchester United. Never heard such a rule that we can't take a player we can't afford, says Savage. So Jim has a third club in Switzerland, right? Can we use them? Says yeah. And I thought Ineos were going to come in with a plan, strategy and structure, but the different style of all the managers and players we've been linked makes me think otherwise now, says M. Shah. City getting round the rules. How many of the 115 will they get around as well, says Mark. And Ineos are the same as the Glazers. It's all just smoke and mirrors, says Tyler's. Leading the fans on, then saying they tried in the end. Pathetic leadership. You see, Tyler, I don't disrespect what you're saying because I think that's an angle that you could take on this. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is a negative of the ownership of Ineos, that we can't buy a player that we've been looking at before they even bought the club. I mean, Todibo was on our list last summer. We just couldn't get the money to do the deal. We are missing out on a very, very big target because of this rule. But I actually might be in the minority. I might be in the majority. I don't blame Ineos for this because I blame UEFA. It's an absolute joke that we are banned from signing Todibo because Sir Jim Radcliffe owns Nice and we both qualified for the Europa League. I mean, it's stupid. If we'd been in the Conference League, we could have bought him. If we'd lost the FA Cup final and not been in Europe at all, we could have bought him. It's just a stupid rule, a really stupid rule. And I know I've said it a lot, but it is. Like, if we'd lost the FA Cup final, we weren't in Europe, we could have bought Todibo. But because we're in the Europa League, we can't buy him. That's the thing. It's just because we're both in the Europa League. If we weren't in the Europa League, we can buy him. So it's not even to do with the fact that Sir Jim Radcliffe owns Nice and 25% of Man United. It's because we're both in the bloody Europa League. I mean, how stupid is that? And on top of that, as I said, Man City are buying Savio, who's been on loan at Girona all season, helped them qualify for the Champions League. Man City are in the Champions League. They've bought Savio, who's helped Girona qualify for the Champions League, but because he's on loan from a French club at Girona, Man City can buy him. And the best thing is, Man City own the French club as well, but that French club's not in the Champions League, so they can buy him. So Man City can buy a player from their own clubs, but Man United can't, because we're in the Europa League. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid. Drip Football says it's completely different, Mark. It's not completely different, is it? Man City are buying a player from a club they own. Simple as that. Would you have sacrificed the FA Cup final for him? No, I wouldn't, Tom. Absolutely not. And that's why I don't blame Ineos. I blame UEFA. I think their rule is stupid. Hi, Mark. It's me, Nelson. I just got a promotion today and I'm happy but sad about Todibo. Maybe you can give me a little blue wrench to celebrate a morn, says Nelson. I don't do the blue wrench. Maybe if you get recommended, you can. Wasn't there an issue with Nice and United done that one as well? Let me have a quick look here. Just checking the latest news here. There's David Moyes. I mean, look, it might change, but you know, it's sad news. Oh, I've just seen some very, very sad news coming out here. Rob Blanchett, you might know him from Twitter. I've had interactions with him before. A journalist. You might know a little bit about him. I'm only reading it on Twitter here, but very, very sad news. Thoughts with him and his family. Yeah, that's a real shock to see that. Just when I'm scouting around. Anything on Xerxes, Mark? Nothing further. It's a funny time with Man United at the moment. You know, there is news coming out, but it's coming out at strange times. It's a funny time, as I said. Is there any other news from players leaving the club beside Mason Greenwood, says Quincy? And Atomic Splash says, sorry to interrupt, Mark, but have you seen that Ian Maatsen to Villa is confirmed? Yeah, he's a Chelsea player though, mate. They're not going to do a deal with us. Never in a million years were Chelsea going to do anything with us, and never in a million years were we even looking at doing a deal with them around that. So it's a good deal for Villa. I mean, look, Aston Villa could end up with Todibo, Maatsen, and Conor Gallagher, and for them, you know, that's really that's really good business for Aston Villa. So yeah, look, clubs are doing business. Clubs are out there; they're doing business, ain't they? You know, that's what's happening at the moment. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit frustrated. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to be talking about this on the 7 o'clock tonight, and it's a bit of a kick in the nuts that the Todibo deal is off. I still think we'll get the Branthwaite. Well, I still expect us to get the Branthwaite deal done, but it does leave us a little bit exposed because we need more than one deal. We need more than one centre back. So where do we go next? I think I read somewhere that Ineos were getting a 1-year transitional agreement to both compete in Europe League. Surely the rule on Todibo transfer would come with this agreement. Not sure if true, says Matt MC. I hope there's a way back, Matt. I really do. And the only reason and I think some of you are getting very pissed off about it, is because the rule is completely flawed I mean, Ineos didn't buy us till February, and they only bought 25%. And if we weren't in the FA Cup, we'd be able to buy him. It's just a really silly rule. But the main thing that annoys me about it is he's a good player at a very good price, and he is a player that we've wanted way before Ineos. It's not like, I'd understand it if Sir Jim Radcliffe came in and said, you want to check out this centre-back we've got, he's going to be the next big thing. Like, we already knew about him. We were already scouting him. He was a player that, you know, Fabrizio was talking about last summer that we might buy, and we didn't buy him because we didn't have any money. So, yeah, where do we go next? What players would you personally like Man United to sign? Look, the players I'd like us to sign are Olise, Ederson or João Neves, Todibo and Branthwaite, Frimpong, a left back, and a striker. I'd be very happy with that. That's what I want. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. A lot of people saying we could buy him next summer or in January, but that doesn't solve the problem. You know, it's always tomorrow then, isn't it? We need to do stuff today. I think if we can't get Todibo, we've got to go and get somebody else. I don't think we can. I think that's the end of it. I think he'll end up signing for another Premier League club, and we'll have to buy somebody else. We can't wait for tomorrow. We can't wait till January. We've just got to get on with it, haven't we? Got to get on with it. Anyway, look, Joe Turnbull, thank you very much for your super chat. Welcome to the new members, absolute legends, of course. I've got to get over to Scotland. Not literally, but my Switzerland, the team I have as the dark horse, and I got them in the sweepstake, are playing Scotland with the potential of knocking Scotland out. It's going to be a big watch along. Make sure you tune over. I'm going to be a couple of minutes, just get a drink, and then we'll be live on That's Football for Scotland against Switzerland. It's Toblerone against Iron Brew. We're ready for it. Aye, we are. Great show today. Look, not every show's going to be full with positivity, but it's bloody frustrating. And I would implore you to do what you can to expose the stupidity of this rule and how Man City can get around it, but Manchester United can't. I think we're being really disadvantaged in a very unfair way. The rich and wealthy can find a way around it, and obviously we can't. It's not fair. Take care. I'll see you over on That's Football. Smash a like, get your comments in and subscribe. I'll speak to you in a couple of minutes on That's Football.